At this month's 19th National Congress, China's President Xi Jinping is set to reveal a new leadership team for his second term in office. On today's show, we'll be focusing on this crucial meeting and discuss what lies ahead for the world's second largest economy. This is China Watch. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Josh Arslan. On today's show, to discuss China's economic future are Mr. Li Yong, who is the Deputy Director of China Association of International Trade, and Mr. Rong Ke, who is the Associate Economics Professor at Tsinghua University. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Start with you, Mr. Li.
Yeah.
How important is the upcoming 19th National Congress in terms of China's economic development? And what can we expect from the meeting?
Yeah, this is really an important conference. The government is going to continue, for example, its existing policies, for example, the supply-side structural reform. And that is going to be a message of consistency, okay, which means that the government is going to be consistent in terms of the future path, in terms of the management of the economy, in terms of its position, determination, for example, to transform the economy as such that the designed shift from consumption, from investment to consumption, from manufacturing to service, and so on and so forth.
Mr. Rong, would you like to add anything to what Mr. Li has said?
Yes, I quite agree with Mr. Li's comments. So what we can expect, I think we can expect many things. The first thing is about the new chapter of the governance of China in the 19th 5-year plan. So what our President Xi could do in the future. And we can also expect our new economy policy and what's our new role engage in the global governance and how we can contribute to the world economy, because now we are the engine of the world economy. So that's why I think the 19th National Congress is so important.
All right, thank you. So given the current status of China's economy, so in the first half of this year, in 2017, 6.9% was the GDP growth rate, which was higher than expected. So my question to you two is, how is the economy continually achieving growth?
First, which is something that which I mentioned earlier about consumption. Consumption is a main driver of the economy as compared, as compared to a few years ago. And right now, the contribution to the GDP growth is something like 63.4%. Which is pretty high as compared to 5 years ago, but not as high as as its role in the developed economies. So this is the first thing I think we need to do. The second thing is we need to continue to create what is so-called new momentum for the growth, which is called the new format, new industry, new products, whatever. Anything that could be new, that is based on the spirit of innovation. And the third is also what I mentioned earlier, the continuation of the structural reform. Structural reform is very important because this is an important part of the transformation. And fourth, I think, is the improvement of the business environment, both for domestic entrepreneurs and also for foreign businesses.
Yeah, I think it will still work because, to my view, the next 5 years will be, I can say it's a more people-oriented economy. And why I can say this? Because I think in the near future, we have 4 societies: agriculture-based, industry-based, and knowledge-based and service-based societies. And what we aim to do is we want to put more labor into the knowledge and the service industries, service societies. In that way, we can guarantee the quality of our economy, so we can keep continuing to grow economic growth. So this four society we will have, and we will put more labors into the knowledge and the service society. That's what I believe.
In terms of new industries, Mr. Rong, Mr. Lee has mentioned innovation as one.
Yeah.
What kind of role is innovation playing at the moment in driving the economy forward?
Yeah, of course, the innovation actually is the new driving force for the economics development. Previously, we have a lot of resources factors. We invest a lot. But right now, we need the consumption-driven. And the consumption, how we can do the consumption-driven, that's innovation matter a lot. And the innovation could combine different resources to create more than they could generate before. So that's why I think innovation is so important. Also, Chinese government set a lot of, they invest a lot of R&D support. They want to build up an innovation ecosystem.
That is going to be the source of a new economic growth. And that is also the engine of what is so-called the new momentum that China is going to create. Take the example of the shared economy. I think you must have tried
Yes,
the shared bicycle,
Yep.
right? You know, that is an innovation. And that innovation has already been extended to other countries. As I heard Mobike, I'm not advertising them, but you know, they have extended their services too.
I think UK was one of the countries where they have
Exactly.
Yes,
Manchester probably is the 100th city where they had this service. And if you look at the jobs that they supported, without this shared bike, you know, type of services, I think, you know, many of the bicycle factories are going to be out of their business.
All right, thank you. Which brings me to the next question. What you were talking about, shared economy and stuff. Now, a lot of people, as of this moment, a lot of people are worried about China's economic future. Now, they're worried about China falling into the middle income trap. There are concerns about that. So I just want to ask, I'll start with Mr. Rong first. If you could, for our viewers, explain the concept of the middle income trap and how it relates to China.
Yeah, our labor cost is still not, it's already not low, and compared with Vietnam, compared with Africa. But if we see our innovation capability, how strong it is, we are still not as strong as America, maybe, as Switzerland as well. Because regarding to the global innovation index, we are only ranking 22, but it's still good, 22. But it still has a lot of space with the advanced economy. So that's, we're still in the middle. So for the Western economic theory, we are supposed to be we have trouble with middle income trap. But actually not. I can explain later.
You know, the World Bank issued a report, 2006, saying that there are a certain number of countries who managed to...
I think it was less than 20 countries, I think.
Exactly, yes.
To come out of the
yes,
trap.
to come out of the trap.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, this trap basically is more of a concept, okay, than economic reality.
The key is about to find out where is the innovation, because the only way to jump the trap is innovation. So we have several big reasons to this. For example, our innovation index, we have secured 22 in the world, so it's very high actually. Second, about the innovation industry, we already found some industry could be the future driving force, like platform-based internet, mobile internet, and also advanced manufacturing as well. So also, actually, we have other reasons. For example, as mentioned, we have a very unbalanced regional development. That means a lot of space. Also, we have very low urbanization rate compared with developed country. So we have still a lot of to do the urbanization. In that, we have a lot of space. Also, we have a big population, 1.4 billion. That means the big market for consumption. So a lot of space, a lot of potential for innovation industry. So how to link them together? So that's definitely will help jump the trap.
If we are looking at the structure of the current economic reform, we see a lot of good signs, right? Positive signs. Like what I mentioned, the consumption has contributed to 63.4%, and services has accounted for 54%, 1% of the total economy. So all of those have are going to point to a direction that we are looking at a future that we can be reasonably optimistic, even though we have problems.
Yeah. So China now has become a major economic and world power. But according to State Council report in 2015, its global influence is still weaker than those of the US and several European major economies. So what can the Chinese government do to strengthen its global influence, its economic influence on the world stage?
I don't really like the word of economic influence,
right?
China wanted to be a contributor to the global economic growth. So you can see from the speech made by Xi Jinping in the World Economic Forum earlier in the beginning of this year. And you can also get this message from the recent 1+6 roundtable dialogue or roundtable meeting, that China wanted to contribute to the world in terms of its economic growth.
Mr. Ron, do you agree with Mr. Lee's statement that he doesn't like the use of economic influence, but rather that China has a responsibility?
I like to use, because I'm not quite agree with the Professor Lee on this point, because actually China already do a lot of things to influence. It's not influence, but it's more like active engagement, one Belt One Road, Asian AIIB, and the BRICS Bank. All of this enable, stimulate the collaboration. So this influence actually. But we didn't want to be the dominator. We want to be the collaborator. So I can say we can use influence, but this is a more equalized influence.
The next 5 years serves as a critical period for China as it makes a crucial transition. But make no mistake about it, these are challenging times for the world's second largest economy. However, the Chinese government is taking swift action to deal with these challenges and stands confident in doing so. This is China Watch. Until next time, goodbye.